information came direct from Meghan's ex-husband, Trevor Engelson, via an intermediary. And obviously, Trevor Engelson is a very successful TV producer. He now has his own family. He's very happy.
He's moved on. He has put Meghan behind him. He probably is not interested in people bringing up his past relationship. He has 3 children now.
Meghan telling the world about their baby girl, Lilibet Diana, named for 2 influential.
About getting away from the UK press, because the press is, is everywhere, or was a move because you weren't getting enough support from the firm?
It was both.
Both.
I need to do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point.
Before the palace gates, the red carpets, and the Netflix millions, Meghan Markle was just another face in Hollywood. Back then, she wasn't Her Royal Highness or a global icon. She was simply Meghan, an ambitious actress hustling through auditions, smiling through rejections, and trying to make her name stick in a sea of wannabe stars. She had charm, sure. She had drive, definitely. And according to some, she also had a plan. At the heart of that early chapter, Trevor Engelson, not a paparazzi-chasing ex or tabloid villain. Trevor was a real-deal Hollywood producer with industry credibility and connections. When they met in the early 2000s, sparks flew. Meghan was still getting her footing, and Trevor, already established, saw something in her. They became a team. For 6 years, it was love, loyalty, and late-night phone calls across time zones. In 2011, they said, "I do." From the outside, it looked like a rom-com dream. 2 creatives in love, chasing goals together. But off-camera, something quieter was brewing. Those close to Trevor say he was all in. He'd fly out to Toronto just to see her while she filmed Suits. He sent care packages, even considered moving his entire life closer to hers. Meanwhile, Meghan started to pull back. No screaming matches, no cheating scandals, just distance. The kind of distance that feels intentional, like a scene slowly fading to black. And then came the final curtain call. No teary phone call, no heart-wrenching goodbye, just a package in the mail. Inside, her wedding ring. No note, no explanation. Just cold closure, wrapped and delivered. It wasn't loud, but it was loud enough. A quiet mic drop from a woman already writing her next chapter. One that didn't include Trevor. Now fast forward to today, and Trevor? Oh, he's done being silent. After years of zipped lips and whispered comments among friends, he's finally ready to speak. Not to stir up drama, but to share his side, his truth. And trust us, it's a story you'll want to stick around for, because things are about to get messy. Real messy. So grab a drink, sit down, and don't blink, because this isn't your average breakup tale. It's got Hollywood, royalty, betrayal, and one bombshell after another. Let's rewind a bit. After Meghan sent back her ring in the mail, yes, literally mailed it, Trevor was left reeling. But he wasn't just heartbroken, he was confused. Shocked. During their marriage, Meghan shared something deeply personal with him. She said she couldn't have children. For a couple building a life together, that's a big deal. Huge. Trevor took it seriously. He loved her, so he accepted it. He adjusted to the idea of a future without kids, built his expectations around that, only to watch Meghan later become a mother twice with Prince Harry. On the covers of magazines, smiling with baby bumps and royal photo ops. Now, to be clear, Trevor didn't go on a revenge tour. No public meltdowns, no tell-all interviews, but he did talk, quietly, to friends. And what he shared painted a version of Meghan that didn't quite match the public image of the compassionate, philanthropic Duchess. According to those in his circle, Trevor felt blindsided, not because Meghan moved on, he could handle that, but because the version of the truth he built his life around, that might have never been real. Of course, people close to Meghan argue that medical circumstances can change, and they can. But that wasn't the core of Trevor's pain. It wasn't about biology, it was about honesty. It was about trust, the kind that you build a future on. And Trevor felt like he was left holding a blueprint for a life that Meghan never actually intended to live. What makes this whole thing even more jarring is how quickly Meghan seemed to move on. While Trevor was still processing the sudden end of their marriage, Meghan was brushing elbows with Hollywood big shots. She wasn't just healing, she was evolving, changing. She slipped into social circles that would one day lead her straight into royalty. It was like watching someone shed their old life overnight and step into a new one without blinking. Trevor, he stayed out of the spotlight. No memoir, no dramatic podcast. He even floated the idea of a comedy show loosely inspired by his life, a man whose ex-wife marries a royal. It never aired, but the concept alone raised eyebrows. There was clearly a story there, one with layers of hurt, confusion, and a lingering sense that maybe, just maybe, he'd been a stepping stone on Meghan's climb. And speaking of climbing, those close to Trevor say he saw it all coming. When Meghan's name started showing up next to Prince Harry's in the headlines, he didn't gasp, it was déjà vu. He'd seen her climb before, starting from bit parts on TV, then snagging suits, then working her way up the Hollywood social ladder. Trevor used to joke that Meghan didn't climb ladders, she leaped over rungs. And now, the final rung was Buckingham Palace. It wasn't about jealousy. Trevor wasn't mad that she found love or fame. He was hurt by the pattern. According to him, and a few others from her past, Meghan always knew how to become exactly what someone wanted, until she didn't need to anymore. It wasn't fake, necessarily. It was strategic, like she was always shape-shifting for survival, for success, for that next chapter. The Meghan Trevor knew? She was warm, real. She cried over bad auditions. She second-guessed herself. She had insecurities. Trevor carried that version of her in his heart. So when the world saw this ultra-polished duchess with perfect posture and PR training, the people from her old life couldn't help but squint. Not because she changed, everyone does, but because she never looked back. And the biggest shock of all, the claim that shook Trevor to the core, was about children. That conversation they had back then, where she said it just wasn't possible, it was tossed out casually. Trevor believed it to be true. He planned around it. So when the pregnancy announcements came years later, he didn't feel betrayed by motherhood. He felt betrayed by the memory of a future he thought they'd both agreed on. Meghan's defenders didn't waste a second. They jumped on her side, claiming that medical realities can change, that maybe, just maybe, she genuinely believed what she then told Trevor at the time. And you know what? That could be true. But even if it was, it still left a scar. Because someone looks you in the eye and says, I can't have kids, and you accept it, love them through it, and build your future around that reality, only to find out years later that it wasn't the whole story, that doesn't just hurt, it shakes your sense of truth. And Trevor wasn't the only one asking questions. The whispers started making their way through Hollywood too. People who'd worked with both of them, old colleagues, producers, assistants, they remembered how quickly Meghan had pivoted after the split, how smoothly she went from a struggling actress to a global phenomenon, how easily she rebranded from just Meghan to the woman who would take on the royal family. Yes, she faced criticism. Yes, the British press was brutal. And yes, that harassment was real and relentless. But there was always another side. One the public didn't always see, the trail of people left behind. People who said she didn't just move on, she erased them. One producer who worked with her years ago said it best. Meghan was always 5 steps ahead, and not in a light motivational quote kind of way. He meant she was calculating, strategic. If you didn't fit into the next phase of her plan, you were quietly written out of the script. And while that doesn't make her a villain, it does raise eyebrows, especially when someone like Trevor, who never cashed in, suddenly breaks his silence.
Well, I always thought she was ridiculous.
Seconds. I mean, how could she tell this stuff and get away with it?
She will find a way to bounce past him to some other taker who might actually just love the guy. She will take her royal kids, who can still go by prince and princess, and find the billionaire.
I look at Meghan Markle and I'm like, this is a bad idea. Why? How did you fall for that? This chick's from LA. She's a failed actress. She's clearly acting out of bad intent. She wants to destroy things she didn't build. And I just never understood why anyone, I thought she was like a ridiculous narcissist from the first words I heard emerge from her mouth. Like, it never occurred to me to take her seriously.
Now let's get one thing straight. This isn't the first time Meghan's been hit with shady accusations. But this time, the drama dialed up way past rumor territory. Just a week before Trevor's revelations, an old conspiracy resurfaced. And it came with a face, a name, and a story. A 23-year-old woman stepped forward claiming she was Meghan and Harry's surrogate. And no, she's not peddling a book deal or angling for a reality show cameo. According to her, she was paid to carry the child and then told to disappear. This isn't your usual Meghan blinked weird gossip that tabloids love to print. This woman alleges there was a full-blown deal, cash, confidentiality agreements, legal protection, the works. And she stayed silent for years. But now, she says she feels used, like a pawn in a very expensive but very secretive chess game. That's not petty tea, that's a potential scandal waiting to boil over. And what's even more bizarre, Meghan and Harry haven't said a single word. Not a denial, not a no comment, not even a subtle emoji-laden Instagram story. Total radio silence. And if you followed Meghan even a little, you know that's weird. She always responds, through legal teams, official statements, or carefully planned interviews. So when she says nothing, people start wondering, what's she trying not to say? Now, it's not about whether they used a surrogate. In 2025, that's not a scandal. Celebrities do it all the time. People are understanding, supportive. The issue is the cover-up, the alleged hush money, the disappearing surrogate. That's where eyebrows start climbing and questions start flying. In fact, there's even a theory floating around that the baby may have been born earlier than reported, giving time for the surrogate to be separated from the child. Creepy? Yes. Confirmed? No. But the fact that people are entertaining the idea just shows how cloudy this whole thing has gotten. And when you zoom out and look at Meghan's public image, it starts to feel a little too polished. Meghan has always had a tightly curated presence. Her outfits, her speeches, her poses, nothing is accidental. She didn't just walk away from the royal family, she rebranded, from Hollywood hopeful to royal rebel to global philanthropist. The crown may have come off, but the actress never left. So when this surrogate story hit the internet, people didn't act surprised. They didn't scream, no way. They said, yeah, that kind of tracks. Because this isn't new. It fits a pattern critics have been pointing out for years. Meghan values appearance control and the narrative, sometimes more than the truth. And the weirdest part? It all begins with one tiny detail hidden in Archie's birth certificate. Now, in the UK, birth certificates follow a strict, boring, but important format. Both parents' full legal names are required. No frills, no royal fluff, but on Archie's, Meghan didn't list her full name, Rachel Meghan Markle. Nope, it was changed to just Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Regal? Sure. Legal? Not quite. At first, it seemed like a harmless choice, maybe a royal branding thing. But then, just 11 days after Archie was born, someone filed an official correction. Not a typo fix, a correction. That means someone, either Meghan or the palace, thought the first version was legally wrong. And suddenly, the royal baby's paperwork became a smoking gun. Why remove your full name from your own child's birth certificate? Kate didn't, Diana didn't, even Queen Elizabeth played by the rules. So why, Meghan? The royal watchers took notice and things only got murkier from there.
His newly obtained birth certificate, it shows Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor arrived May 6th, not at their new home Frogmore Cottage like many had expected, but rather at a London hospital.
Even though Meghan had let it be known she wanted a home birth, it was probably very realistic that her first child at 37, it was going to be born in hospital.
Now let's shift to baby number 2, Lilibet Diana. Born in California, right? At least that's what we were told. But documents started surfacing suggesting Colorado. Random? Not really. Colorado has much looser laws when it comes to surrogacy and birth certificate documentation. And if you're trying to hide something, well, let's just say Colorado makes it easier. Then came the icing on the conspiracy cake. Lilibet's birth certificate didn't even list Harry's legal name. Instead of Henry Charles Albert David, it said, His Royal Highness the Duke of Sussex. In the UK, that might pass, but in the US, titles mean nothing. Try walking into a government office and saying you're a duke. They'll laugh and ask for ID. If Harry's legal name wasn't listed as a parent, there's a chance on paper he has no legal parental rights in the US. Think about that. Meghan, a seasoned legal player, surely knows how important that is. Yet somehow this detail slipped, or was it intentional? This isn't just about messy paperwork, it's about control, about image. Meghan isn't the type to miss a box on a form. She's played courtroom chess with tabloids and royal protocols. Every detail of her life is crafted like a PR campaign. That's why many believe these weren't accidents. They were calculated choices, meant to protect, to distract, or maybe to keep something hidden. Now here's where things take an even stranger turn. People began noticing something that at first seemed subtle, maybe even innocent. Meghan appeared more emotionally connected to Lilibet than to Archie. In interviews, when she spoke about Lily, her tone was warm, soft, almost protective. But when Archie came up, it felt distant, almost like he was a passing mention in a longer story. At first, it sounded like the internet was reading too much into things, but the pattern was hard to ignore. Some started wondering, could there be a biological reason behind the shift? The theory swirling around? That Lilibet may have been born through a surrogate, but created using Meghan's own egg and a donor's sperm. If that's true, she'd still be biologically connected to Meghan. But Archie? There are whispers that he might have been conceived through a different method altogether, or not biologically linked at all. And while that's purely speculation, for someone as image-conscious as Meghan, the details may matter more than the average person would expect. Now let's circle back to Trevor, because after hearing all of these strange details, quiet contradictions, and hushed revelations, you'd be forgiven for thinking that maybe the man has a point. The story of Trevor Engelson isn't just a subplot in Meghan Markle's rise to royalty. It's the foundation she once built her life on and quietly walked away from. So who is Trevor really? Before the headlines, before the royal circus, before the spotlight, Trevor was born and raised in Great Neck, Long Island, just outside New York City. He wasn't born into wealth or fame, but he had hustle. After studying journalism at the University of Southern California, he turned to film and television production. He wasn't the flashy Hollywood producer type with designer suits and tabloid drama. He was more of a behind-the-scenes kind, quiet, focused, and driven. He had an eye for talent, a sharp sense for what could sell, and a work ethic that kept him climbing the industry ladder. By the early 2000s, Trevor had earned respect in the entertainment world. He started as a production assistant, worked his way up, and eventually formed his own management and production company. Underground, his name might not have been in the gossip columns, but producers and casting agents, he was known, trusted, the guy you could count on to get things done. It was during this rising phase that he met Meghan Markle. She was a struggling actress, bouncing between auditions, trying to land roles that didn't involve walking silently in the background. Friends say they met through mutual industry connections. Classic Hollywood meet cute. He was the producer with momentum. She was the actress with charm, drive, and an unmistakable spark. And when they met, something clicked. Trevor and Meghan began dating in 2004. It was steady, loving, and from the outside, unremarkably normal. For 7 years, they were a team. Trevor supported Meghan through the tough years, helping her financially, emotionally, even professionally. When she landed Suits and had to move to Toronto, he was the one flying in to visit, sending care packages, and working remotely just to stay close. According to people who knew them both, Trevor was all in, Meghan not so much. In 2011, they tied the knot in Jamaica in a low-key beach wedding. It was intimate, casual, filled with friends and laughter. But even then, some guests noticed a flicker of distance. Trevor, ever the romantic, doted on her. Meghan, according to some insiders, seemed distracted, like she was already outgrowing the moment. Their marriage lasted just 2 years. There was no cheating scandal, no major fight, no tabloid-worthy meltdown. Instead, it ended with a whisper, a package in the mail containing Meghan's wedding ring. No letter, no phone call, no explanation. Just a cold, clean break. For Trevor, it wasn't just a breakup, it was a blindside, a future erased without warning. For years, Trevor said nothing, no interviews, no social media hints, no look at me podcasts or exposés. While Meghan's star rose from TV actress to duchess, Trevor kept to his quiet corner of Hollywood, producing films, building his business, and some say, nursing a heartbreak that never truly got closure. But now, this silence is cracking. Trevor, still not shouting or seeking headlines, has started opening up to people he trusts. What he said has been whispered from one Hollywood circle to another, and now it's out. He's spoken about the emotional toll of their marriage, about being misled, about being told that children weren't possible, only to watch Meghan become a mother years later. And it wasn't that she just moved on. It was how she moved on, swiftly, strategically, like flipping a switch and becoming someone new. And while the world debated Meghan's truth, Trevor lived with his version. The woman he fell in love with wasn't a duchess or a global icon. She was a girl with doubts, fears, tears over rejections, and dreams that sometimes felt out of reach. He loved that version, supported her, believed in her. But as she climbed higher, he began to realize that maybe he was just one rung on the ladder. Today, Trevor is still working in Hollywood, quiet, steady, and respected. He's remarried now, ironically to a woman named Tracy Curlin, the daughter of a multi-millionaire banker. They live far from the spotlight, far from the drama, and by all accounts, Trevor is happy, or at least peaceful. But the past never stays buried forever. When Trevor finally began to share his truth, even in hushed tones, it changed something. He wasn't accusing, he wasn't bitter, he was just telling. And that's why his story hit so hard, because it didn't sound like gossip. It sounded like a man finally unpacking a love that never made sense after it ended. And when someone like Trevor, who never cashed in on his pain, starts talking, people listen. Not because he wants fame, but because he already had the one thing Meghan always seemed to chase: credibility. Now I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Trevor was right all along? Was he simply telling his truth? Or was there something more to the story? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And while we wait for more updates, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos for more deep dives just like this one.